Good afternoon. I'm Craig Ernstmeyer. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. I'm excited. Southwest Airlines has such a great story from its beginning way back in 1967 as Air Southwest, with that original goal, which remains unchanged today, to provide reliable, friendly, and low-cost air travel to its customers. A fleet that began with 3 planes now has well over 700. It started back with Herb Kelleher and a napkin. That's an incredible story to provide cheap travel in Texas, specifically between San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston. He was considered a pioneer and a fierce innovator. He created it using a disruptive business model that other places are still using as a case study even today. Last year, 2021, that was your 50th year of operation. You have a fleet of 725 aircraft, all Boeing 737 jetliners, I know that you know. You employ 55,000 people, carry 130 million customers. 47 of the 50 years you've had profitability. That's a remarkable story, and my objective today is to present some more in-depth information to provide some recommendations of how Southwest can continue to be an airline industry leader. It all starts with the mission statement. You know, Herb wrote your first mission statement. You can see highlighted here both the mission statement and the vision statement. I think what they both do is do a good job of illustrating and showing the priority list that was started back in 1967. Employees first, customers second, shareholders third. Again, this also breaks down into the me and the we. Me is how each employee shows up, and the we is how Southwest Airlines treats their employees. And that's just a fantastic extension on an easier, more practical scale to remember the priorities and vision and mission of Southwest Airlines. Your company business model, you guys use a variety of different things. You have a foothold. You started with a small foothold in Texas, and that has expanded. You have used the disruptive innovation model because flights weren't always cheap back in 1967. You've also used the vertical integration strategy where you are putting a lot of emphasis, and you have a large presence in the front end of the customer experience by doing your own ticketing, which is not something all the airlines do. Your business model is very simple. Use a generic cost leadership strategy. Those who employ this offer products or services with acceptable quality to a wide market at a low price. That's what you do. Southwest also uses the best cost level strategy. You're able to do this by keeping a focus on overhead costs staying relatively low. In applying the value chain through internal logistics, there's a strategy to lower operational costs by doing such things as minimizing idle speeds on the ground, installing certain winglets for lower costs, and even having a specific throttle and navigation system to increase the speed in the air. These strategies align with your various strengths and weaknesses. You keep prices low, perceived by others as a weakness, but in reality, you keep a small footprint and minimize the extras also to keep that low. Also, obviously, throughout this whole thing, you have ethics. Ethics are extremely important, and organizations must balance their use of both ethics and law. Back in 2018, this group, the board of directors, adopted the most recent code of ethics, highlighting the commitment to maintain high standards of various business practices as well as legal compliances. The code of ethics also that was adopted complies with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act back in 2002. Again, the values, me, how I show up, and the we, how we treat each other. I think that is such an easy way to remember that priority list. Obviously, there are still concerns, though, as in any organization where, the recent pandemic has brought some different concerns forward, that from the pilots, and so some of your employees, as well as there are some consumers that also have been filing litigation on a mask and whether she had to put it on or not. And obviously these are all still in the courts, and so can't be talked about or have not been settled. And then you also still chose to settle and pay on a pricing litigation piece. While you have a strong record in your ethics, you need to keep addressing it. There are steps you can take to get better. First, you need to make sure you balance workers with capacity. This imbalance led to the pilot union's litigation. You need to determine what your capacity is for flights and the available pool of staff. 2, offer flexibility for employees to meet so relationships with your employees stay strong. Explore areas outside the typical compensation that your employees may desire. 3rd, continue to put a high priority on on-time flights. There's been various system-wide flaws as recently as March, where up to 1,400 flights were delayed. Southwest must invest in these updates on technology to provide as flawless an experience as you can for customers. And continue to do what has made your culture great. Reinvigorate that winning culture. Also, looking at it through the 5 forces model. This really highlights various threats. Obviously, the one that we just had, COVID-19. Also, there are a variety of different levels with which threats occur. COVID-19 is a high threat. At the same time, supplier, that's a little bit more of a weaker threat because you go with just one airplane, and so that makes it easier. You also have a weak threat in new entrants to the market because it's expensive to get in there. The other threat, which I believe is the highest threat, is that red ocean of air travel. And what I mean by red ocean is it is a very competitive market. And every single player in the field continues to find ways to take a bigger piece of the market. As you look in here, one way to look at this is strategic group mapping. What I did here is compared the prices of the tickets and the destinations that are served. There's several things that this can illustrate, and it's not just, we only have to worry about SkyWest. No, that's where part of it is, but I think that bigger one up top of Delta American United also needs to be considered a significant competitor as well, because they are trying to offer, and they are currently offering, a higher number of departure areas, but they have also balanced that out with a higher price, and I think that's why Southwest Airlines has continued to stay presentable and successful in that. Can also look at this through external evaluation, the EFE matrix. I know some of this you can't see and it's a smaller font, but basically there are different opportunities and there are different threats. And what this does is it gauges the weight of each of these threats and gives it a rating. The scores range from 4 to 1. 4 is superior, that you are doing a great job of responding to it, and a 1 is you have done nothing to it. And so, for example, global expansion, you can see that has a weight of 0.07 and a rating of 1, signifying that you have not really done a whole lot with that opportunity to date. And the same thing can be true there on the threats as well. Again, many opportunities moving forward. The greatest of these, I think, is a bigger footprint in the global market. This rating was a 1, again, signifying a poor response. You continue to have your market basically in the domestic area. In 2021, actually only reached 100 destinations compared to rivals American Airlines with 364 and Delta with 326. So that is an opportunity that you have. Obviously the biggest threat moving forward is probably the impact and the effect of COVID-19, and that's to be determined at this point. Also with the controversy and conflict over in the Ukraine, I think both of those are important for all the industry. Also have a SWOT analysis, again, looking at different critical factors that are a strength of Southwest Airlines, and these factors and weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses, again, are highlighted in that same idea of 0 to 0.1 and a rating of 1 to 4, with 1 being we're not doing much for it, and a 4, yeah, we're really on top of that. On this, financial profit, that's a 4, and so that's an area where you are addressing and impacting and putting a lot of effort into that particular area. So another way to look at that is the IFE matrix. So as we were talking before on the external, this is one that looks more on the internal. What are the strengths of Southwest Airlines? And you can see there your culture, no doubt. You have a low cost and you're consistently profitable. I mean, those are knocking them out of the park. It's just a matter of continuing to look also then on the bottom at those different ones moving forward. There's a lot of other advanced matrix there, the SWOT, the BCG. What I have there in front of you is the space matrix. And again, it compares how Southwest Airlines compared to Delta and compared to US Airways. And, that is showing Southwest Airlines is aggressive in certain areas, much more so than its counterparts. And so, again, these are just different ways to be able to look at the organization. Strategic performance, you use a general cost leadership strategy. You pay dividends. You are as financial industry as their organization as there is in the industry. You have that 2-to-1 ratio of assets to liabilities. That's fantastic. You've also increased your equity the last 5 years, and I do exclude out 2020 because I just feel like that is a blip. You use the U-form organizational structure where financing, you do that by the function of the organization. So it might be ground operations, in-flight, et cetera, and then you have the traditional CEO to vice president sort of piece. My recommendations, here's what I'd suggest. Maintain open seating. Keep that. Technology costs outweigh the benefits of this extra perk. 2 bags fly for free. Again, this is a negligible cost that can be highlighted as a perk to competitors versus competitors. And keep your hiring standards high. What you could do to change or add, expand self-service at the airport. Provide more for the customer's experience. And that, for a lot of people, I want to do it myself. Also, increase flights to your current locations. That will ensure some reliability, going back to that piece a little bit. And then explore new destinations to expand your foothold even further. Again, I have seen, 590 miles is your sweet spot. Okay, explore different places that 590 mile an hour or 590 mile sweet spot can happen. If you can do this, those profits and different forecasts are positive moving forward. Again, that basic growth rate for Southwest, again, with that 2020 is minus, yet the industry standard is 7.8. That's the number I used. And so through efficiency and the adherence to your proven strategy, you should be able to achieve that standard moving forward. Ways that you can do this is by to measure this is just your continued review and evaluation. You guys have some fantastic tools that make up the balanced scorecard of financial, customer, internal business, and innovation and learning. Continue to use those as you are expanding. Continue to expand using those. Again, you guys at Southwest have had a tremendous start. It's been outstanding. 47 of the 50 years in profitability. You have a clear mission. You have a fun story. Use these recommendations to ensure that the mission, the vision, and the